All right, we're going to go ahead and get started on this webinar here. Today we're going to go over the estimating and layout tool. Um, we're going to go through that and I'll show you how to access that on the website. Just to note, if you want to follow along during this webinar, I have some attachments in the handout section of this. There is an Excel spreadsheet, which is our pricing sheet, and then two PDFs, which is going to be the site plans that we're working off of today. So to access these tools, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to allanblock.com. You can see I have that pulled up here. And there's a couple ways we can access these. We can go in here under the residential or contractor side. So if I go to contractor information and I scroll down to the Allan Block tools, we will be using the layout tool extension as well as this estimating tool here. And if I go home here and I select residential, we're also going to have these tools in here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that estimating tool. So I'm going to say go to tool. And then I'm also, we're going to go ahead and open up this layout tool as well. So these are the two tools we're going to be using today. We're going to first go through the layout or the estimating tool, punching in our elevations manually. So we're going to learn a little bit about that. And then we're going to use the layout tool to measure another wall. So let's go ahead and get started here. When we open up the estimating tool, we're going to have this option here. We can select our units, language. We're going to put in our zip code. We can put in our company information here. And then you can select whether you're a production partner, dealer, contractor, homeowner. I'm going to leave it at dealer today since this webinar is mostly going to be dealers and production partners in attendance. And I'm going to say save. Once we hit that, we're going to get a disclaimer. It's good to read through this. It's going to give you kind of the thought behind some of the things that are going on within the software or within this tool. But we're going to go ahead and accept that. All right, so to get started here, this is going to be our project list. If it's the first time you've been in this estimating tool, this list is probably going to be blank. Today we're going to go ahead and start a new project. So we're going to use this button up here. I'm going to select new project. And then we have our project details. Project name, we're just going to go ahead and name this one example. We can put in a project number as well as a project location. I'm going to put 123 Easy Street. And then we can put a prepared by. So I'm going to put my initials in here. Then what we can do is we can select whether we want to do a residential project or a commercial project. When you select residential, this is going to be for walls that are 6 feet and under, so nothing over 6 feet. And this is going to also determine what type of grid is going to be in your estimate. So this is going to be that residential biaxial grid that you're going to see. Then we can select commercial here. This is going to be for walls over 6 feet, and this is going to have more of your commercial grid in that estimate. For today, none of our walls are over 6 feet, so I'm going to go ahead and select residential in here, and we're going to hit save. All right, so this project already exists. I'm going to say that it is example 1. And we're going to select residential. We're going to say save. All right, so we've added in our project. Now we can see it here in our project list. We can go ahead and edit that information of our project by clicking this Edit Project Details. We can delete the project or we can download the project. I'll talk about downloading here at the end. To navigate through this, what we can do is we can use this big blue arrow, and we're going to get to our first page, which is our soils page. We have some descriptions on what we want to do when we choose our soils, but this is going to be important to the design. If we don't know what type of soils, always go for clay. This is going to be the most conservative. If you want to learn more about soils, we do have some reference documents in here as well. You can click those. They're going to bring you to some information on your soils. Once we select our soils, we're going to go ahead and move forward. And here we can select what our above wall conditions are. So are our walls level? Are they surcharge? Is there a slope? And then we can choose to, if we want to include our cap in the wall height or not include it in the wall height. If we choose to include our cap within the wall height, this is going to reduce our block estimate. So typically I'm going to go ahead and just choose to not include it in the wall height. And I'm going to say, well, let's go ahead and look at what document we're going off of. So here is kind of a hand sketch. I know it's electronic here, but this is going to be something that maybe a dealer gets across their desk from a homeowner. You can see here we have a wall. It's giving us some lengths as well as some heights at various points. So we're going to use this one. For this one, we can say that our driveway is on the top side of our wall, and over here is our low side. So we're going to say we have a vehicle load above our wall. So I'm going to go ahead and say driveways and roadways, and I'm going to say next. All right, once we do this, we're going to get prompted to fill out a pricing page. In here, we have all of the collections that we produce or that our production partners are capable of producing. So this is information in here. We can adjust the dimensions, color. So if we click on this, I can say that our block is gray, and we can adjust the height to a true 8-inch block. So we can adjust this manually here. If we scroll down, we're also going to have the options to put in grid information as well as cost for our grid, base rock, all that sort of stuff. And then we can put some other information in here down as well. We can adjust the unit weights of our soils, but usually 120 is going to be a pretty safe assumption. If we don't want to manually input this, we can also choose to use the pricing sheet. That's going to be the other attachment in the handout. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to choose our file. So I'm going to click Choose File. One thing to note here, there's a couple pricing structures in here. So this is that Excel spreadsheet. We can have special pricing, residential pricing. There's also a commercial pricing tab and a suggested pricing tab. So we can select which one that is here. Right now we have, we're going to go ahead and choose our file. And I'm going to find that sample pricing sheet. And I'm going to say Open. And now you can see our table is filled out. We have our colors here. We have our production partners or our production dimensions in here as well. We have our grid names, grid information, and then we have some pricing on that as well here. This is where we can adjust what type of pricing we want. So we can do suggested retail. We can do our commercial retaining walls, special retaining walls, whatever we want in there. Once I'm done with that, I can just go ahead and say save and close, and we're done with our pricing. At any point, you're going to see this pricing button down here. If I want to get back to that pricing sheet, I just click that button. It pulls it right up. I can make adjustments as I need. All right, so this page now, what we're looking at is going to be our elevation page, or basically we're just building a profile of our wall. We have some terms and definitions over here, as well as discussing whether our site is a cut site or a fill site. So if we click these, we can see that example. But we can start over here on the right at step 1. We can enter the exposed maximum wall height. We're going to say we don't know the exposed maximum wall height. And if we read the descriptor down here, if the maximum height is unknown, we're going to proceed to step 2. Step 2 is going to be entering the number of station points in our wall. So if we look back at our document here, station point, we're going to want to grab all of the height changes within our wall. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 height changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify that we have 4 station points. And when we do that here, our table down below has 4 options to fill in. Now we're going to move to step 3. We're going to choose how we'll enter the length of our wall. So we can do the distance between our station points, or we can do our running distance. we look at this document, we already have the distance between our station points. So that's what I'm going to put in as my inputs. And then we can pick how we want to enter in our information. So do we want to put in the top of wall and our grade? Do we want to put in our exposed wall height and our top of wall? Or do we want to put in our exposed wall height and grade? For this one, we're going to put in our exposed wall height since that's what our document has. And we're going to say our grade is 0. So we're going to put in exposed wall height and grade. And then we're going to select fill site for this example, because if we look at our document, this is our high side, and we're extending this driveway. So this driveway is going to be our fill site, and this is going to be our low side here. So we're going to say fill site example. We're putting in our information distance between station points, and we're going to plug in exposed wall height and grade. And then we're just going to start filling in our information. When we fill in our information, we want to work our wall from left to right as if we're facing the exposed face. So when we look at our document, if we're standing over here, we will be facing the exposed face if we're looking at our wall. So we're going to start over here at the beginning. At the beginning of our wall, the height is 2 feet. So we're going to go into our table at our first station point, and we're going to say the top of wall, our exposed height is 2 feet, and our finished grade is at 0. And I can hit enter. So we have that in here. Next, we're going to put in our next station point. This one here, our next station point, our wall is at 3 feet, and this is 2.7 feet plus 2.7 feet, which gives us a distance between these 2 points of 5.4 feet. So when I click on this row, I can put in my distance, which is 5.4 feet from our previous, and I can put in my exposed height as 3. I can put my finished grade as 0. Okay, next station point, we're going to look at our document. So from our number 3, or our second point here, to our next wall height change at 4.5 feet, the distance between that is 6.2 feet. So we go to our estimating tool, we say 6.2 feet. We're going to say our exposed wall height is 4.5 feet, and our grade is at 0. And finally, we're going to do our last point. I know that the height of our wall at this point is 5 feet. Our finished grade is 0, and the distance from 3 to 4 is going to be 14 feet. As a check, if we want, we can go ahead and click, we're going to hit Done Editing, and then if we want to check what our elevation looks like, we can say View Elevation, and here's our wall. If we wanted to change our buried block, right now buried block is set to industry standards. We can see the description here what industry standards are, or we can manually set our buried block to a specific. So if I want 1 foot buried, I'm going to select manually, and I'm going to say 1 foot, and I'm going to say save and close. So that's that page here. This is how we manually input this information, and I can move next. This is just going to give us a view of our profile. These dotted lines are each station point that we put in. So we have a station at 5.4 feet, at 21.6 feet, and at 35.6 feet. And then we have our table here that we just filled out. Next, we can put in a wall descriptor. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this wall is driveway. We can use up to 40 characters here. And then we can also specify the number of AB corners. This wall doesn't have any corners, so I'm going to leave that at 0. In here, there are also a couple options. We can use structural fill. We can use no fines concrete. So if we just wanted those, we would check them on or off. All right, so we're going to pause here at this one, and we're actually going to go ahead and say add another wall. And for this wall that we add, we're going to use the AB layout tool. So I'm going to say add another wall here, And it's going to bring us back to this clay, our soil selection. The next document that we're going to be using is this project number 3. It's a fire access. And our wall is right here. So we're going to assume clay on this one. We can go next. We're going to say that we have driveways and roadways above. Because if we look at our document here, this is going to be pavement. And then we have a road, our wall here as well. We can go next. And then rather than filling all this out, what we're going to do is we're going to use the AB layout tool. So I'm going to go to the AB layout tool. In here, it's going to ask you for your zip code and your country, just so that we like to track who's using our tool, see how much traction we're getting with this tool. In here, we can upload a JPEG or we can upload a PDF. The only thing is we want to make sure that this PDF and JPEG are to scale. So I have a PDF, so I'm going to say PDF. And I'm going to go ahead and select this Project 3, Fire Access Lane PDF, and I'm going to say Open. Now there is a little tour guide that you're going to get. If you want to get back to that tour guide, it's down here in the bottom left-hand corner. We can select Tour Guide, and it's going to go through all the buttons in here. I'm going to X out of that. And then we also have some controls up here as well. I can pan by holding my right mouse and moving that. And I can zoom in holding control on my keyboard or using these plus minus buttons. All right. First thing we want to do is we're going to want to set our scale. So we're going to go over here to our scale bar. We're going to click Set Scale. I'm going to click at the beginning over here, and I'm going to run it all the way over here and click again. Then it's going to ask us what the length of our line is. So we have a 0 in here, so it's going to be 60 plus 30, which gives us a length of 90. And I'm going to say OK. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and trace our wall. If you remember previously, we want to trace our wall or put in our wall information from left to right as if we're facing the exposed face. This is a ditch down here, so this is going to be our low side. So if we're facing our exposed face, we're going to start over here. I'm going to go ahead and trace our wall. So I'm going to click Trace Wall. Click at the beginning. And we're going to get this red leader. I'm going to run it to the first corner. Click again. And then we have a curve in here. This gets a little tricky, but stay with me here. So we're going to click at the beginning of our curve right here to place that leg. And then we're going to run over here. We're going to click Add Curve. And I'm going to place a point right in the middle of our curve. And then we get this line that's in a circle. And I'm going to match it up to our curve here. And I'm going to click again. We're done adding our curve. I'm going to run it to the very end of our wall. And I'm going to click one more time. So now we've traced our wall. How do we get rid of this leader? We can either hit Done Tracing, or we can hit Enter on our keyboard. Next thing we want to do is add in our stationing. So I'm going to click Add Station Points. And now I have this yellow dot. It's following my mouse. It's stuck to this line. If we look in the bottom right-hand corner, we're going to see wall stats. So total is the total running distance of our wall. And that station value is the location of our yellow dot. We're just going to follow these callouts. So we have a TWBW here. I'm going to click once to place that point, and then I'm going to get a leader. And this leader is just a label. It's going to display information for us. So I'm going to move it out of the way just so it's not covering anything up, and I'm going to click again. Then we have our yellow dot, and I'm going to just go along and place points, clicking once to place the dot, clicking a second time to place our leader. I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to hit every call out. All right, so we've hit every call out. We can either hit Done Adding, or we can hit Enter on our keyboard to be done with that. Next, we want to add in our elevation information. So I'm going to say Add Elevations, and we get a menu box here. This menu box says we're at Station 0. We can confirm we're on Station 0 because we have this leader highlighted. And then we're going to go in, and we're just going to plug in our TWBWs. So here we have 87.5, and our BW is 87.4.5. Next, 87.5 as our TW, 87.3 as our BW. Go in here and just plug these in. All right, once we get all that information in, we can say done. And now you can see below our station, we have our TW and BW. If we want to save this, we can go ahead and hit this capture current image, and that's going to run a download into our downloads folder. All right, so we have all the information we need for the estimating tool. Now what I can do is I can use this green button here that says Send to AB Estimating Tool. I'm going to click that. This gives us an important notice. All of these steps are what we have previously done. We've created a project, we've selected our soils, selected our above wall conditions. So I'm going to say I've done these steps, send data. All right, so now we're done with the layout tool, and if I go back to my estimating tool, we can see my tables all filled out. We can take a look at the elevations here. This looks good. This is going to be the bottom of our ditch where that culvert is. We can change our buried block. For this one, I'm just going to leave them at industry standards. And I'm going to click next. Little overview of our profile there, our table filled out. Next there, I'm going to put a description in this one. Let's say fire access. And we don't have any corners on this wall, so I'm going to leave that as 0 as well. All right, so we have 2 walls here. If I wanted to go back and make changes to wall 1, I would hit this drop-down menu and I would say wall 1. Now we're on wall 1. If I want to make changes to wall 2, I just go ahead and select wall 2. These are the only walls we're going to put into our project, so we're just going to hit next here. Once we hit next, we're going to be able to select if we want to use a patterned wall estimate or a full-sized block estimate. We can do both if we would like, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click both here. We can go next. Here is where we can adjust our overages. We can either adjust our overages with our patterned wall, so we can say 5%. It's going to do that for us. We can also adjust our full-size block overages as well. But we have these options in here. And then we can take a look at all walls total, our overages for full size and patterned. Once we've adjusted our overages, we can go ahead and hit next. And here's where we can select our block. We can use our color here. I'm going to go with buckskin. And I'm also going to go with the Rocky Mountain blend, but we're going to do ashlar pattern with that one. We can select all of the options in here. The only limiter in this one is going to be you can only select 3 different types of block for your estimate packet. Once you've selected that, I'm going to hit next here. And this is our export and print page. So we have some addendums in here. You can create a contract document. If I hit edit, it's going to give me my options in here. As well as scope of work, we can adjust the scope. And we can also include a proposal document. These pages are optional, so if you don't want to include them in your estimate packet, you do not have to. But once we have everything set the way we want, we can go ahead and say generate PDF package. And it's going to generate us a packet. So this is going to be our main page here. If I would have filled out my company name and address, it would have put it in here as well. We have our project information, as well as some information about our wall. Our worst case soil is clay. We have 2 walls. The maximum height is 6 feet. And our most common surcharge is going to be driveways and roadways. Next, we're going to go wall 1 of 2 up here in the top right-hand corner. Has our descriptor. It's the driveway wall. And here's our profile. And then we have wall 2 of 2 here. Has our descriptor as fire access. And this is our profile. Then we get into our estimates. So this is wall 1 of 2. This is our buckskin estimate. And then we have our buckskin ashlar for wall 2 of 2. And our quantities, our total quantities for that buckskin estimate. Our next one was that Rocky Mountain blend. And this one is actually our patterned wall, not the buckskin. We have wall 1 estimate. We have our wall 2 estimate. And then we have our total estimate here. And then below that, we just have some typical details. These aren't necessarily your exact wall or the wall that you put in, but these are just some typical concept details. We see this one up here, our driveways and roadways. This is because we selected driveways and roadways as our top of wall conditions. But that is your complete packet. You can save this however you want. Download it, do all you need to do with it. Once we're done with that, we can go up here in the top right hand corner to hit save. And we're going to do save to browser's project list. And to get back to the main menu, we can just hit this restart button. It's going to say, are you sure? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say save on this and accept the disclaimer. So here's our project we just created. If I go into it, it's going to say we're on our wall number 2. We can make changes as we need. Now, one cool thing about this tool is we can actually save this file and share it with one of our employees or somebody else to make changes. So what we want to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this green button to download. So I'm going to hit this, and it puts a .est file in our downloads folder. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this as if we don't have this on our computer. So I'm going to delete it, say OK. And then what I can do to open that EST is I can say open project here rather than new project. I can go to my downloads folder or wherever that file is located, and I can select it and I can say open. We can give it a second here, and there we go. We have our example 1 file back in our projects list. So this is a nice way to share our tool, your project here. And with that, that concludes the run-through of the estimating and layout tool. I know it was kind of quick, but we do only have a half hour scheduled for this session. If you do have any questions, I'm going to be in here for just a few minutes longer. Type in the chat, ask some questions as needed. I'll answer them as best as I can. And in the future, when you're using these tools, feel free to reach out to our engineering team, either at engineering@allanblock.com or at our office phone number, and we'll help you out. We can also hop on a call and run through these tools with you one-on-one as well.